Good evening. Now notice what happened in you when you heard it. Not what you think about it, but what moved. There was the tiniest loosening, perhaps only a sigh you didn't know you were holding. A word crossed the room, and before your mind could decide for or against it, something in you answered, yes. That is the place where our work begins. Not in ideas about God, not in rehearsals of spiritual language, but right where a simple tone touches consciousness and it yields, ever so slightly, without command. You felt it, and that is enough for this moment. We are not here tonight to build stronger wills. Please hear that. We are not here to strap the human self to a higher standard and call the strain devotion. If it were up to willpower, the best among us would have finished long ago, and the rest would be sentenced to trying forever. No. We are here to discover what already abides. We are here to come upon that which is present before we reach for it. The presence that greeted you when I said good evening, because something recognized something. You see? Let me set a rule for our being together. If this remains only words, it does nothing. If it stirs in you a quiet release, it becomes power. The difference is not subtle. Words can march through your head like a parade and leave you more tired than before. But when truth is met as presence, a weight shifts from your shoulder to another's. You may not yet name the another, but you can tell that you are not carrying the evening by yourself. The government is not on your shoulder. Already a hint of rest comes in. Not because you tried to relax, but because reality pressed upon you and you allowed it. That allowing, small as a breath, is the beginning. So here is the promise I can make, without drama and without selling you anything. When I am ceases to be the little pronoun at the center of your personal effort, and is realized as Christ, as the living presence within that knows and acts, striving will begin to dissolve. Not all at once, like a stage trick, and not by your ordering it, but as snow yields under the warmth of a sun it did not manufacture. You will find yourself doing what needs to be done, yet something in you will not be doing the doing. The peace of it will testify louder than any sentence we could make. For tonight, keep your attention right here in the room. Let the simple greeting continue its work. Feel for the place in you that answers without argument. That is where we meet. That is where the I am is already more than your name. And as we proceed, we will not try to make it so. We will watch it reveal itself, and with it, your burden will begin to lift. Now, while that hint of rest is present, let us turn and look at the thing that has worn you out. Quietly, without scolding. You know the habit as well as I do. We take holy words. God is love. The Lord is my shepherd. I can do all things through Christ. And we put them like a lever into the hand of the personal self to pry life into place. We think, if I say it, if I hold it hard enough, I will make this happen. And for a time, behavior shifts. For a time, you speak softer. You count to 10. You put a golden glaze over your irritations. But the one doing the counting is still the same I, trying not to be itself. You feel that, don't you? There is a tension to it. It tightens behind the eyes, in the jaw, down the neck. The government returns to your shoulder. You become the watchman at the gate of your thoughts, the clerk of your own courtroom, measuring, weighing, correcting, promising. Responsibility shades into guilt, guilt into vows, vows into a new regimen. It is a spiritual fitness program, Up at 5 to improve the self that is trying to improve. And then the crash, the short temper, the apology, then the vow to try harder. We call this devotion. It is exhaustion investments. Now notice this. Willpower can modify conduct for a season, but it cannot modify the sense of identity doing the conduct. The personal I moves the pieces around and then takes credit, or blame, or both. Even our humility becomes a project. I am trying to be humble. I am trying not to seek praise. I am trying to love my enemies. Who is this tireless trier? It is still the same one at the center arranging its halo, and the strain gives it away. Strain is the signal. When you feel the pinch, the press, the subtle heat of effort, you have your diagnosis. Identity has not shifted. I am aware, of course, that many of you have proven that you can rein in a habit or control a tongue by sheer grit. That is not in question. But listen, the question in this work is never, can I force an outcome? The question is, who is doing the forcing? If it is I, Joel, I, Mary, I, John, the one with the biographical storyline and the ledger of successes and failures, then even your victories will be heavy. They require constant monitoring, and they must be defended. And when the defense slips, all the old condemnation is right there, waiting to fall on your shoulders again. So it is that some of the sweetest phrases become burdens when they are dragged into the service of the personal will. You can go all day saying, God is love, and still be worn out by evening, because the one saying it is trying to get God to be something for a purpose of its own. You see? That is why a day of trying can leave you more tired than a day of manual labor. The inner clerk has not stopped tallying. Let us be honest and kind at once. If there is strain, if there is that inner clench when you set out to be holy, take it as information, not condemnation. It simply means the doer has not changed. The pronoun remains at the center, operating the levers. And until the operator is known as the presence within, until the government is recognized on his shoulder and not yours, you will keep calling effort spirituality. Tonight, we are learning to recognize the counterfeit by its weight. When the weight is on you, you have your answer. When the weight lifts, even before the outer picture moves, then you are nearing truth. You can feel the difference. Now we come to the little hinge on which the whole door swings. What do you mean when you say, I am? Not the sentence that follows it, but the I and the am. Who is this I? What is this am? Is it your birth certificate? Is it your temperament, quick or slow, shy or bold? Is it the ledger of memory, the successes you nurse, the failures you rehearse? Or is it the current weather of the body, pressure here, ache there? If you do not pause to ask, the tongue will seize the stamp and go to work. I am tired. I am worried. I am behind. I am unworthy. And the seal descends, and the wax hardens, and you call that identity. You see? Listen. The reason strain returns is that I am has been conscripted as a label maker for the human storyline. The holy name is pressed into printing little tags for passing conditions. I am sick. I am anxious. I am a failure. And then, right alongside, the heroic countertags. I am strong. I am positive. I am going to beat this. Same machine, new ink. You feel the fatigue of it. Now, I am is not a description. I am is a doorway. Before the label, before the biography, before the temperature of the blood, there is being. There is the bare isness that does not begin with your first breath and does not end with your last sigh. Moses heard it as, "I am that I am." The Master spoke it as, "Before Abraham was, I am." Not I was, I am. Timeless, placeless presence. When you attach a condition to I am, you drag the eternal through the narrow hallway of a mood, and then wonder why the air is thin. So we practice a very simple honesty. We hesitate before the tongue runs. We let I am stand alone for a breath. I am, and stop. Not a trick, not a blank affirmation. Just the willingness to let being be, without furnishing it, without outfitting it with your latest report. In that pause, if you are still enough to notice, a difference makes itself known. A quiet that is not the result of your managing. A sense of spaciousness, as if the room widened half an inch inside your chest. Sometimes it is only the loosening of a fist you did not know you were making. That is the I of you witnessing, not the persona performing. Who is this I that can watch the rush of labels and not be the labels? What is this am that abides whether the body feels light or heavy, whether the calendar is full or empty? It is presence. It is the inner Father, Christ identity in seed. Not yet doing the outer works, perhaps, but already testifying by rest. And here is the law for our work. You cannot let I am abide as Christ, while you employ I am to paste names upon shadows. The tongue may go on saying, I am this, I am that, but the heart must learn the difference between presence and persona. So let us begin there. Before the sentence, a silence. Before the story, a being. Let it be felt. Let the government slip again from your shoulder. Then speak if you must, but know who speaks. And if you cannot yet name it, let the release name it for you. That is prayer enough for this step. You see? Now we take the next honest step. We have let I am stand without a tag, and already there was a faint release. So hear this, not as a slogan, but as a doorway. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Do not rush past it. Do not collect it like a stamp. Sit with it for one moment while we are together. I can of mine own self do nothing. What does that do inside you? It removes the operator. It removes the superintendent who has been telling the crew what to do. And then, listen. The Father within me doeth the works. Who is this Father? Where is this within? The Father. The Father. The Father. Let the word press softly until the shoulders drop. We are not being poetic now. We are describing a change of agency. Up to this point, you have believed yourself to be the cause of your efforts, the planner and the pusher. You have been the one trying to get God to help you, to bless your program, to speed your purposes along. But the Christ is not the helper of your plans. The Christ is the life that acts when you cease being the actor. Christ is the name we give to the living presence, the divine principle, the light within your own consciousness that knows what you do not know and accomplishes what you cannot accomplish by arranging your thoughts. Christ is not later. Christ is not elsewhere. Christ is the operative presence that announces itself by rest and then by right action flowing as naturally as breath. Now, watch how the exchange takes place. Not, I will try harder. That leaves the little I polishing its badges. Rather, I can of mine own self do nothing. You let that stand until the inward protest quiets, and you find it is actually a relief to be nothing in yourself. The government is not on my shoulder. Then, the Father within me doeth the works, and you consent. That word doeth matters. It is activity. It is the doing. And in the very next breath, you notice that the phone is answered, the letter composed, the apology spoken, the decision made, without the heat of self-manufacture. The same hands, the same voice, but another operator. Who is this He? The He is the Father revealing Himself as your capacity to see, to love, to be silent, to move. He is the rhythm that accomplishes without strain. You may say, but am I not responsible? Yes, responsible to yield, responsible to turn, to consent, to remember the source. Your part is the pause, the inner bow. His part is the work. And you will know the transfer has begun, not by fireworks, but by the absence of grind. There is a quiet authority, a simple sufficiency, as if the room has more oxygen. You are still present. You still sign your name and show up on time. But you are no longer the engine. You are the instrument, and the music is playing. So let this be our prayer as we move. I live, yet not I, but the presence liveth in me. The Father, the Father, the Father. If you will allow that name to unseat the private operator, you will discover that what you called spirituality as effort becomes life as expression. The works appear, and you cannot take credit. You cannot take blame. You can only bear witness that He within me is greater than any appearance before me. And with that, striving begins to end. You see? Now, because we are dealing with something holy, we must set the boundary clearly. This is not hypnotism. This is not suggestion. This is not taking a spiritual sentence and grinding it into the brain until the tongue is tired and the nerves are raw. You can say, God is love until midnight, and be no nearer to God than when you began, if the saying is an attempt to make God act. Repeating true statements for effect is still the mental plane, even if the statements are true. You feel that twinge when you start repeating to ward off a fear? That is the personal mind trying to domesticate the infinite, to turn revelation into a tool. It cannot be done. I know there are disciplines that will produce results by mental control. They can slow a heartbeat, still a pain, even stop a bleeding. Yes, they can. They can build a wall of thought around you so that nothing gets in that you do not allow. They can focus attention until a subject responds as if under a spell. That is not spiritual realization. That is mental control. It is usually taught honorably, sometimes under religious colors, sometimes as yoga, sometimes as mind science, sometimes openly as hypnotism or suggestion. And I do not deny the phenomenon. But listen, phenomena, however impressive, do not reveal identity. They leave you as the operator, and as long as you are the operator, you have not come to, I live, yet not I. The strain of maintaining the operation will tell on you. Here is the danger, and I must speak it plain. Reliance on metaphysical truths as a formula can be fatal to your inner unfolding. Fatal, not because the truths are false, but because the mind seizes them and says, I will use these. The very grasp undoes the grace. You can fill a notebook with glittering statements, cross-reference them, keep them at your bedside, and wake every hour to recite. You will have a busy mind and a weary heart. Why? Because the government has crept back to your shoulder, and you are turning the key again and again to start a car whose engine is not yours to ignite. Truth is not a lever, it is a presence. The Father within me doeth the works. He doeth. Not your mantra, not your memory. He. Let me give you the litmus right where you sit. If there is tension, jaw tight, breath short. If there is compulsion, I must get this right or else. If there is performance, look how well I am practicing the truth. You are trying to make truth work. And when you are trying to make truth work, you are back on the mental plane, and the clock will make a slave of you. But when truth is realized, it works of itself. The sign is release. The burden slips. The sentence you were pondering ceases to be a sentence and becomes a state. Be still and know that I am God does not remain words. It becomes stillness knowing. Then, without your pushing, the act appears, the wisdom appears, the healing appears, because he within me is greater than he that is in the world. So it is. When that he is realized, the words fall quiet, and the work goes on. You see? Now, having set aside the grinding and the tricks, here is the simple way we work. I call this contemplative meditation. Take one living phrase, only one. Be still and know that I am God. Or, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Or simply, I am. Do not collect several. One is sufficient. Sit quietly, not to force a result, not to stage an experience, but to listen. Read or hear the phrase once, softly within, and then turn it over like a gem in the light of your own awareness. Who is this he? Where is this within? What is this I am before I attach a story to it? Let the questions be doors, not drills. Now, stay with it, not urgently, not anxiously. Ponder means let meaning ripen below the level of word noise. You are not reciting, you are consenting. The Father within me doeth the works. Let doeth echo until it ceases to be grammar and becomes activity sensed. Or, be still and know. Let stillness come to you rather than you chasing it. If thoughts come, do not fight them. Let them pass as leaves on water and return to the phrase. If the mind tries to measure progress, smile at it and return again. You will notice, if you do not push, that a tone deepens beneath thought. Faint at first, then unmistakable, and then the sign. It is always some form of release. The breath loosens, the shoulders drop of themselves. The sentence you were turning becomes a state that is turning you. A quiet assurance appears, not a promise you make to yourself, but a presence that says, I am here. Sometimes it is only the smallest softening. Sometimes it is a wave of rest that makes the room feel safe. Do not try to enlarge it. Do not try to hold it. Recognize it. That is the Christ-touching consciousness, the Father assuming the government. In that moment, the personal operator has stepped back, and another has stepped forward. You see? When the release comes, stop. That is the instruction. Do not linger to squeeze one more drop. Do not analyze. Get up and go about your business from the shift, not from effort. Answer the letter, hold the child, make the call, wash the dish. Quietly, naturally. letting the doeth carry the action. If, later, the peace thins and the old operator noses back in, return to the phrase, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours later if need be. The same way, briefly, gently. We are not trying to have an experience, we are consenting to what is already true until it registers in consciousness, again and again. So it is that contemplation becomes the doorway. Not a lever, not a performance, but a door you learn to open by consent. When the release comes, you have touched the Christ abiding that does the works. Then, without trumpet or strain, life begins to move in you and as you. He within me is greater than any appearance before me. And you find yourself living by another's sufficiency. Now what happens when it clicks? You will know because the strain you have called spirituality drops out of the mechanism. The breath that kept catching evens. The forehead softens. There is rest, but not the slump of apathy. Rest with light in it. Rest with awareness. You are awake, you are present, and you find that what is to be done comes forward without your pushing its back. The government is not on my shoulder. The government has moved, quietly, decisively, to his shoulder. And the body knows it before the mind can write a report. You will notice that you still answer the phone. You still keep the appointment. The pot does not overboil. The child does not wait for kindness. Only, the doing does not feel like a rescue mission you must engineer. The panic of authorship is gone. You are not rehearsing your lines in your head while pretending to listen. You are listening, and the words appear right on time, as if they had been standing nearby waiting to be asked. You sign the letter and realize you did not argue with yourself through every sentence. The flow carried it. He within me doeth the works. Doeth. Doeth. The repetition is not rhetoric. It is your new experience of action. And I know the fear that rises right here. If I rest like this, won't I become passive? Won't life collapse while I am sitting in my holy corner? No. That is the old operator, bargaining to get back behind the wheel. This rest is not lethargy. It is right action without egotism. It is the yoke that is easy and the burden that is light, because it is not yours. When the Master says, I live, yet not I, that is not retirement from living. That is life taking the field. You will find yourself moving more promptly, not less, speaking more truthfully, not less, doing what is necessary, not everything the fear pusher demanded. Take a moment now to recognize you have tasted this before. Recall the interview in which the exact sentence arrived and opened the room. Remember the drive through storm when calm, not calculation, placed the hands rightly on the wheel. Think of the time you meant to defend yourself and instead a quiet answer spoke itself and dissolved the quarrel. You did not plan those seconds. You did not arrange the timing. And afterward you said, where did that come from? From within. From the presence that, when acknowledged, governs. The more often you yield, the more ordinary this becomes, until even the small errands of the day are done in a steady tone of sufficiency. So it is that work remains, and yet the worker disappears. The event is the same, but the inner posture has changed. You are an instrument, not an engine. There is attention, there is precision, there is care, and there is no grind. You will still feel the pull of the old habit, yes, but now you have the signpost. The instant you sense the pressure to manage outcomes, you step back into the realized name. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. And immediately, almost imperceptibly at first, the load slips to where it belongs, and the next right thing comes forward of itself. You see? Now, as this rest takes root, something very natural begins to happen. Perception refines. You are in the same room with the same people, and yet you do not meet them in quite the same way. At first, notice this. You do not quickly note their bodies, their clothing, their little defects or charms. Your attention is drawn to the eyes. Life looks out. Something in you, now acquainted with presence, recognizes presence peering through those windows, and you find yourself less concerned with the package and more with the light behind the glass. You see? Stay with that, because it is a step on a ladder. The further you abide as I am without a label, the more you become aware of an emanation that is not personal in the ordinary sense. Some call it an aura. Better to say atmosphere. Not a colored cloud for show, not a parlor subject, but a felt tone, a climate around a person, around a place, even around a conversation. You step into a house and know, without inventory, whether it is hospitable or agitated. A stranger sits beside you, and, before words arrange themselves, the atmosphere tells you rest or turmoil. When you are abiding, you are not impressed by the turbulence. You notice that beneath it, around it, there is a steadier air. Deep calls unto deep. As face answers to face in water, so presence in you recognizes presence in another and salutes it, sometimes without a syllable. Then, at times, do not seek it. Do not try to paint it in. There is light. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Single, undivided, not judging by appearance one moment and truth the next. In a certain elevation of consciousness, the body that once seemed the fact of a person thins to insignificance, and you are aware of a luminosity, as if the person were more radiance than structure. It may be a brief translucence, a soft glow, or, rarely, a disappearance of form into a living brightness. Do not make a shrine of it. Transfiguration is not an entertainment. It registers to tell you where you are looking from, not to give you something to talk about. All of this is tied to abiding. The more I am is realized as presence, the more you perceive presence where you formerly met conditions. And here is the quiet implication. Healing is not an act performed upon a person. It is recognition. Judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. You are not sending a thought, not imposing a better picture. You are consenting to the Father's isness right here, until the atmosphere clears and the appearance yields, just as mist vanishes when the sun reveals what was always there. The Father within me doeth the works. He doeth, by revealing himself as the truth of what I behold. Keep it ordinary. In the market, you meet the clerk as presence rather than as rude, and a different word arrives on your tongue. In the sick room, you meet Christ where you used to meet a chart, and fear has nothing to fasten to. You are not scanning for auras. You are resting in the eye that beholds. Then the eyes come first, then the atmosphere, and sometimes, when the eye is single, the hint of light. Step by step, perception purifies, and you begin to meet presence where you formerly met appearances. So it is. Now, the moment you begin to meet presence where you used to meet appearances, ethics stops being a program and becomes a fact. If I am beholding the same eye, the same life looking at me through your eyes, How could I use you for my private ends and not use myself? There is only one self, one I, one I. You see? The separation that made exploitation seem clever dissolves, and with it, the appetite to get, to angle, to maneuver. Love is no longer a virtue you attempt. It is the natural law of realized oneness. This is why the Master did not give advice. He stated law. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Not as if, not symbolically, unto me. If there is only one I, then every act toward another is an act toward that very I in which I live and move and have my being. Do unto others as ye would that others do unto you. He was not offering etiquette. He was describing mechanics. Harm projected is harm received because there is no out there to land upon. It circles within the one I. Blessing given is blessing received for the same reason. This is not a bargain. It is being. Now look how willpower morality fails us. You can clench the teeth and restrain the cutting word. You can force a smile. You can keep a contract to the letter while your heart runs a private calculation. And for a season, society benefits. But the separation remains intact. The inner atmosphere tells on you. The strain leaks out as fatigue, as irritation, as the sigh that betrays contempt. That is the mental plane managing conduct. When you abide as I am, the logic changes. Using you would be like the right hand stealing from the left. Cheating you would be amputating myself. It is not noble to abstain. It is nonsensical to injure one's own life. Translate this into the hour. Speech. If I am the I of you, I cannot employ your ears to ventilate my resentments. The tongue pauses, not by discipline alone, but because I hear my own I in you and choose words I would feed to my own soul. Commerce. If I am the I of you, I cannot make profit out of your fear or ignorance. Prices, contracts, wages, timelines, without fanfare they straighten, because I am settling accounts within one household. Family conflict. If I am the I of you, I cannot win this argument by diminishing you. I will not decorate the living room of our home with the ashes of your dignity. A softer tone comes, and often an unsought apology rises before the mind can litigate. And let me say this plainly. We do not send thoughts to change others. That would be more using. No thought transfers from me to you in this work. We turn within and let the sense of two-ness dissolve in the realization, I in the midst of thee am mighty. The Father within me doeth the works. The Father reveals himself as the truth of you right here. And as that recognition settles, the atmosphere clears, the conduct finds its level. They may change or they may not. Our responsibility is oneness realized, not results managed. So it is that ethics becomes inevitability. If I am the I of you, I cannot flatter you to get, frighten you to control, seduce you to satisfy, ignore you to escape. I am that. I am he. Therefore I must walk softly, speak truthfully, transact cleanly, because there is only this one life living itself as us. The Father, the Father, the Father. And from that abiding, love is law. You see? Now we come to the ordinary hour, where the dishes wait and the calendar speaks. Expect this: there will be a flash, sometimes bright, sometimes barely a softening, and then it will seem to fade. Do not call that failure. Consciousness is learning a new resting place. The old operator has been in the chair a long time and will reach for the wheel out of habit. Our work is not to wrestle. Our work is to return, again and again, quietly, gladly, without strain. Repeated consent. Here's your cue. The moment you hear inside, "I am trying. I must get this right. I have to make it happen." Stop. Do not accuse yourself. Simply notice the signal. Then turn within. Take one living phrase, only one, and let it be a door. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Or simply, I am. Read it once within. Listen. Wait, and do not force. When the release comes, any degree, even the smallest loosening, rise and do the next thing from that shift. If the strain returns, you know what to do. Turn again 2, 3, 4, 5 hours later if need be. This is not performance. This is remembering where the government rests. Not on my shoulder. His. The Father. The Father. The Father. Let the day take a shape. Morning. 5, 10 minutes, no heroics, with one phrase, until a touch of rest arrives. Then close the book and live from it. Midday. Brief turnings. At the sink, at the curb, in the elevator. One line, one breath, one release. Evening. A gentle review, never a trial. Where did I take back the wheel? Where did grace carry me? Note it, not to scold, but to recognize the pattern of God moving in your affairs. Offer thanks, consent again. Sleep in the awareness, I in the midst of thee am mighty. Do not be surprised when certain grosser habits thin out without vows. The tongue that loved to hurry or jab finds it tedious to injure its own life. The appetite that sought to stupefy quiets because rest is already present. The entertainments that demanded agitation lose their shine. You did not conquer them, you outgrew them. Consciousness no longer feeds them, and they wither. Calendars and pockets straighten. Speech simplifies. The body answers to a saner rhythm, not by discipline alone, but by indwelling order. So hour by hour, abiding becomes natural. You will still forget, and then you will remember more quickly. You will still begin to push, and then you will laugh, step back, and feel the load slip to where it belongs. And as this continues, ethics remains simple. Walk softly, speak truthfully, transact cleanly. Because you are meeting your own I wherever you go. I am that. I am he. Not as a banner to wave, but as a way to live. Now feel the room. What began as theory has weight in it. There is oxygen in here. Rest with light in it. You see? The practice is not self-improvement. It is consent, repeated consent, to the indwelling presence until the Father's abiding is the natural tone of your day. So it is.